But back to one of our main stories today. Brexit is set once again to dominate day two of the Conservative Party conference. They're in Birmingham this week.
The Prime Minister continues to defend her progress on leaving the EU. Later, the Chancellor, Hammond, will address the party faithful, and he joins us now. Very good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Mrs May is very clear. She says she believes in Brexit. Do you?
Yes, the British people have decided. Our job is to get on with it and do it in a way which is smooth, which minimises any disruption and friction to the economy as we leave and protects British jobs and British businesses in the future. And that's what the Chequers plan is all about.
She's also said over this weekend that she will not compromise. What would you say?
Well, this is a negotiation, but the Prime Minister's always been clear about that. But she's also been clear that we have our red lines, and there are elements of this package which are non-negotiable for us. We will end free movement. We must recover control of our laws so that we make our laws here in the UK, and we must stop sending the £10 billion or so a year that we do send to Brussels. Those are our red lines. But of course, we're in negotiation with the EU about the detail of how the package will work, about how we will implement the customs arrangements, for example. These are complicated things, and it's been a long and difficult negotiation, and it will go on.
OK, so you are saying there is room for compromise then. On what particularly?
Well, around the details of how the plan will work, of course we have to discuss that with the EU. We've proposed some quite complex arrangements for ensuring that the border in Ireland stays infrastructure free, while also allowing Britain to enter into trade agreements with third countries. That's a complex package. And of course we have to work out the details. But the big elements of this package that we've put forward: an end to freedom of movement, a recovery of our power to make our own laws and our control over our own borders is not negotiable. And the Prime Minister's always been clear about that, because that was the mandate we took from the British people in 2016.
Right, so if you can't agree on what you're calling the red lines, which you've outlined, is no deal the right deal?
Look, the right answer here is to negotiate an agreement with the European Union that works for us, and of course it has to work for them as well, because you can only ever agree in a negotiation if the outcome works for both sides. So I'm not going to talk about hypotheticals where we can't do this or we can't do that. That is not the attitude that we're taking as we go into these negotiations. We're taking the attitude that this is a package we can negotiate. It works for the British people, it works for the UK, and it's also a good outcome for the EU as well. So we're going to focus over the next few weeks on working through these details, explaining how it works to our European colleagues, listening and waiting for any comments back that they care to make so that we can address and answer them. This is a live negotiation, and the next few weeks are going to be absolutely critical. And
do you think they are in the mood to negotiate? I mean, given what happened in Salzburg?
Yes, I talked to lots of counterparts across the European Union. The mood is undoubtedly that people want to do a deal with the UK. People want to minimise the disruption of the UK's departure from the European Union. They want to continue to have a good relationship with us and smooth trading partnership in the future. And that's the message we hear pretty much universally from across the 27 member states.
There are reports today from the Centre for European Reform saying that Brexit is costing £500 million a week. What would you put the figure as?
Well, I don't have a figure to put to that. The Bank of England, the OBR, various other organisations have come up with numbers. Clearly, there has been a hit to our economy through the uncertainty that the Brexit process has caused. Many businesses are sitting on their hands, frankly, waiting to see what the outturn of this negotiation is before confirming their investment plans. And of course, that has an impact on the British economy.
OK. How will you stop that, or what are your plans?
By getting a deal. And I believe that when the Prime Minister lands this deal and brings it back, there will actually be a boost to the economy as businesses start making those investments that they've deferred over the last year or so. Consumers start spending on big ticket items as they feel more confident, knowing where we're going in the future. So there's definite upside if we get this deal done and bring it back home with businesses and consumers feeling more confident and boosting the economy in consequence.
OK, so it all depends on a deal being done. One of the major Tory party donors has been talking today, saying that you fail as a party to champion business. What's your response?
I hope he's here, and I hope he'll hear my speech later on this morning, because I will be saying unambiguously that business is a force for good in our society, in our communities, in our economy, and that the Tory party is and will remain the party of business.
Can it remain a party that sticks together through Brexit?
We have to, because, again, as I will say later on today, beyond Brexit, and I know at the moment it seems difficult to imagine a time when we're not talking about Brexit, but there will be a time when Brexit is done, the discussion is over. There will be many other big challenges. Our opponents, the Labour Party, last week threw down the gauntlet. They proposed a return to red-blooded socialism of the 1970s variety. That would be a terrible outcome for Britain. It would destroy jobs, it would destroy prosperity, it would put us back decades. And this party has to remain united and resolute in its determination to resist those siren calls and to provide the leadership that Britain needs going into the 21st century, post-Brexit Britain.
You say the party has to do that, but the evidence at the moment, that is not happening.
Look, the Tory party has a very strong instinct for self-preservation. That's why we're one of the longest-lived and most successful political parties anywhere in the world. Of course, we have our disagreements. We've had our disagreements before. But when the arguments are over, what unites us is much stronger than what divides us. And we will come together as a party to fight the next battle, the battle against Labour's plans to take us back to the 1970s, to destroy the economic progress that we've made and to undermine the future of our country.
And just very briefly, there's news today that waiters' tips will now have to go to waiters. Is that that's the right thing to do? Do you tip waiters, and are you glad that's changing?
Yes, I am. It is a disgraceful practice that some businesses, unknown to the customers who are tipping at the table, are collecting these tips for themselves rather than distributing them to staff. When, of course, I do tip, and when you add a tip to a bill, you do it because you've had good service, because you feel good about the experience that you've had, and it's absolutely right that the people that have provided that service should be getting that little bonus.
Philip Hammond, thank you for your time here on Breakfast this morning.